I haven't kept up on the Suicide Squad stuff. I tried not to look at other people's perceptions of the gameplay showcase, the reveal trailer thing that they did for Suicide Squad. I just didn't want to have my opinions tweaked. I didn't want to just echo Reddit posts or anything. So I tried to just make my video on it after we finished streaming and move on from there. And Young made a video where he says it's being mass downvoted by the internet due to live service distaste. So we'll check this out because he's probably collected some different things to discuss, and we'll see what it looks like. I will say, like, this is the face I imagine someone makes right at the cusp of a colonoscopy. I just have a talent for pausing videos right at the perfect moment. So I don't know. I feel bad. Sorry, Young. I do this to Maddie too. Every time I pause a video for Maddie, it looks like he's just stepped on a Lego. But you know, I'll try to treat you better.
Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Man, talk about a game with an amazing concept, but whose execution I have doubts about because of the live service components that are going into it. The folks at Rocksteady recently showcased the game during the latest State of PlayStation, and you can see right here the likes to dislikes ratio on the State of Play as a whole is already not looking great. But then
yeah, I don't have that plugin installed, so I can't see it.
The latest State of PlayStation.
What was it?
And you can see right here the likes to dislikes.
27K down 11K, and that's for the whole State of Play. That's not even the trailer specifically. I wonder, hold on, can I just install this extension? Let's see what this is like. I've not seen this actually. 1 year ago, 3 days ago. This is from GameSpot. 16,000 dislikes. And bear in mind, this would be more for, like, this would be a lot more if dislikes were publicly visible. Because a lot of people, they tend to dislike when they want to join the bandwagon. So I think this number would be even bigger if it were visible. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this actually perfectly explains my feelings on the game. I'm more excited for the cutscenes than the game. Yeah. Yep. For real. Nothing like watching Captain Boomerang use guns all the time. Yeah, for real. Battle Pass, yes. Looter shooter mechanics, yes. Gear score, yes. Damage numbers, yes. Builds, yes. Mindless hack and slash, yes. Well done, Rocksteady. Everything the gaming community just loves about AAA live service titles. Man, I was not ready for the overwhelmingly negative response to all this. What about the IGN one? 14 up, 39,000 down. Okay, yeah, he looks at.
You can see right here, 5.9 thousand likes versus Boomerang and a signature weapon, shotgun.
Oh, I just.
Frank.
Oh, that's funny. Are these the same exact people? It's the same exact people. They're just copy and pasting their comments on every single video. That's funny.
Some of the feedback that people have been sharing, including, yes, Captain Boomerang and a signature weapon, shotgun, referring to the fact that a lot of the gameplay in this game just seems to be third-person shooting, while the different characters do have melee attacks and special abilities and whatnot. And while there is a lot of verticality with how large levels look and how you can traverse aerially either by swinging or flying around, the core gameplay of each character ultimately feels like it's just shooting, and like that's the majority of what you'll be doing, which is a bit disappointing and makes each hero less unique, stand out less. It's a stark contrast from Rocksteady's previous Arkham series games, where the entirety of those games' combat revolved around making you feel like Batman. His entire kit felt Batman appropriate. Whereas in Suicide Squad, it just feels like at its core, it's kind of like a generic third-person looter shooter with superhero elements attached to it, rather than a purely superhero game where you really feel like those characters. Again, I haven't played the game. I'll hold out judgment, but you know what they showed us, I don't know, it was just not jiving with me. And I don't know if it was just me, but looking at the gameplay, there were aspects of it that looked janky, the animation transitions and whatnot. There was just something about it that felt very looter-shootery. When you look at multiplayer games, you can tell that there has to be a sacrifice in fidelity to accommodate the technical aspects of multiplayer, whereas in a single-player experience, because it's an isolated instance, you can really push the graphics and animation fidelity. And I feel like some of that gets lost in Suicide Squad because it's primarily a multiplayer experience.
We just went back and played Batman Arkham Knight on the 4090. And on the 4090, I mean, even not on the 4090, but just in general, Arkham Knight still looks amazing. And I think, and I don't think this is a controversial thing to say, I think Batman Arkham Knight looks a hell of a lot better than this does. Personal opinion. Take it or leave it. But having just gone back through it, like, I don't think it's that close. I think Arkham Knight, far and away, looks way better than this. And we could say, like, Young just tried to play devil's advocate, and I'll give him credit for that. Like, oh, well, you got to sacrifice fidelity for multiplayer. That's absolutely true. And we're trying to be, like, fair about it. Yeah, you have to bring up the fact that it's multiplayer, it's online, so you got to sacrifice some fidelity. But, like, we're talking about 8 years. Almost a decade. Time difference. And I think you can look at a lot of multiplayer games or a lot of single player games from 2015 where we've had multiplayer games that look better than them now. Single player games, multiplayer games that look better. Yeah. There's so many weird things about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League that just weird me out. The whole thing is just odd. Because it seems like such a weird departure for Rocksteady from what they're known for, from what they're good at. A lot of their executives are leaving. The whole thing is weird.
Experience. You can play it single player with bots, but it feels very much like it is a live service a la Marvel's Avengers. I do think it looks better than Marvel's Avengers, though that's not saying much, but it's got those vibes of, oh, I'm going to be grinding a lot, and it is going to try to draw out the experience as much as possible. It's not going to be this very meticulously designed and properly paced experience. I don't know, that's just a feeling I get. Again, haven't played the game. We'll have to hold out, but that's the general worry that people have. I do like the cutscenes that I've seen so far. Maybe it'll have a good enough story to carry the experience through. The fact that the game has been designed with a live service co-op experience in mind means that playing it solo, I get the sense that the overall level design, game design, set piece design and whatnot will be held back, that the campaign won't feel like it has that level of handcraftedness that single-player focused experiences do, the kind of handcraftedness you see in something like God of War or, hell, the old Arkham titles. Here's another comment that reads, Battle Pass, check. Looter shooter mechanics, check. Gear score, check. Damage numbers, check. Builds, check. Mindless hack and slash, check. Well done, Rocksteady. Everything the gaming community just loves about AAA live service titles. Some people are hoping that at least this game has more enemy variety than Marvel's Avengers. Man, I just hope it's not like Avengers where you're killing the same Brainiac bots over and over again. And then some are expressing disappointment that given Rocksteady's pedigree that this is what we're getting out of them 8 years after the last title. We had to wait 8 years for another Rocksteady game, and we got this. And the list just goes on and on. These are generally the types of comments that you'll see scrolling down, just the general expression of disappointment and concern that this is not the kind of game that people will want out of a Suicide Squad AAA video game, much like how Marvel's Avengers wasn't the type of experience that people were hoping for out of an Avengers AAA game. And looking at other Suicide Squad uploads, you can see that the likes to dislikes ratio is similar. This video that I showed you right here is just a gameplay segment, but there is a second video that was uploaded to the official PlayStation channel, developers commenting over gameplay and kind of highlighting the features you can expect out of it. The dev commentary footage YouTube upload you can see right here has 1.5 thousand likes versus a whopping 5.9.
I would love to know what they're saying in the studio right now.
Block Knighted Zaibatsu donated $4.99 through Super Chat. If they want any success from this game, they'll throw it on Game Pass cuz yikes, tears of joy rolling on the floor, laughing man, facepalming, medium dark skin tone.
Medium dark skin tone. I find it funny that it always reads out the skin tone of the emoji, but only if it's not the default color. It's really weird. Anyway, but thank you. I appreciate the $4.99, and I mean I agree. That's one way to like slam dunk it. But it's I would just love to know what they're saying, because like we can't by default see these likes to dislikes, but we can if we use the plugins and extensions. And I would guess that a lot of the devs and especially the studio execs are keeping tabs on gamer sentiment around this title, and they're seeing the overwhelmingly negative reception. And this is really humbling for Warner Brothers, because they just had Hogwarts Legacy, which exploded and is selling like ridiculously well. Reception's super positive. And then they come out with this right on the heels of that, and they're publishing this game from a more established developer, a team that's supposedly much better at making games, because they've done it. They've had Game of the Year like twice now. I don't think they got it for Arkham Knight, but they got Game of the Year. Well, I know they didn't get it for Arkham Knight, but I think they got it for Arkham Asylum and City. But we've had, you know, like the studio is supposed to be very, very qualified, very good. And they put in this stuff, and now people are like, hell no, this is not what we wanted. This is terrible. This is live service garbage. And the reception's very, very negative. So I would assume that the executives are getting humbled right about now. But I mean, dollars are the only thing that they'll pay attention to. So it depends on how much money people toss towards it. Obviously, yeah, I agree. The Harry Potter fan base is much more rabid than the Suicide Squad fan base. I don't think there's anywhere near the number of people as really into Suicide Squad as are into Harry Potter. However, it's also just a general sentiment around gamers. Like Hogwarts Legacy, single player, narrative experience. It's not a great RPG, but as an adventure game, it's pretty good. And it has its problems, but in the most basic terms, it delivered on most of what people wanted from it. Whereas this, everything people were hoping for from a new Rocksteady game is being missed. And it just seems like a huge swing and a miss. Huge swing and a miss. How would you see a game like this? What would you want from a title like this? Well, for one, the reason I love Rocksteady is because they're really, really good at handcrafting these linear narrative action adventure games. They're really good at it. And especially pushing graphical boundaries and cranking out, you know, these amazingly detailed worlds in the form of Batman Arkham Knight, Batman Arkham City, my personal favorite, Batman Arkham Asylum. And to see them put something like this out, which just seems soulless. It seems to be just your average corporate designed by committee looter shooter meant to be a games as a service title where all they can talk about is how they'll have years of content coming, more playable characters, cosmetics, a battle pass, all this stuff. It starts to get really, really concerning because it shows that they just are completely out of touch with what gamers actually want. And the thing is, I don't think the devs are out of touch with what gamers actually want. I think it's the executives who are forcing this to happen. And this game was greenlit a while back, and I'm sure they thought, if anybody can make a really high-quality looter shooter that will make us tons of money, it's Rocksteady. Let's just have them do it. Cancel that Superman game they were all excited about. Have them do this. Force them to do this. A lot of the people that I talked to like a year or two ago who were working on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League have left. They no longer work with Rocksteady, and they're working with other studios. A lot of them moved to like Naughty Dog. A handful of them went to Santa Monica studio. Like a lot of these guys have just left. And now we kind of see why, because I think that they were aware of this too. I think they started to sniff out the problem. They bugged out real quick. Why does Sharkman need a gun? I mean, he's a shark man. Good point, Jacob. I would agree. It's a little weird.
1,000 dislikes. Scrolling through the comments here, you can see that people are expressing a similar level of disappointment based on what they...
Again, they're just copy and pasting comments. It's funny. Like, it's a good point. But it does start to feel like, you know, this manufactured outrage when you start to copy and paste your comment 15 places, you know, but, whatever. Yeah, rip Rocksteady, always remain in our hearts.
Based on the showcase and based on the fact that it was confirmed in the showcase that this game would be heavily leaning into live service models. Reception doesn't fare better in other outlets' uploads. Like IGN here uploaded the extended gameplay of Suicide Squad. You can see right here, 5.9 thousand likes versus 7.4 thousand dislikes. Here's another IGN upload, the game overview trailer with the dev commentary, 6.2 thousand likes versus 10,000 dislikes.
You'll also notice in my main channel videos, I haven't pulled this type of thing up because what I've noticed is whenever videos like this go up that point out the dislikes and have a generally very negative message, intentionally or not, they tend to just lead to mass flagging and downvoting because everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to go over there and speak my voice and I'm going to dislike it, which everybody's has the right to do. But it tends to exaggerate it. And so these numbers mean less and less because it's just people hopping on the bandwagon. But it still is very interesting to look at it before that happens.
This is GameSpot's upload of the co-op gameplay trailer, 3.3 thousand likes versus 6.7 thousand dislikes, so on and so forth. You get the idea. And the main culprit behind the negative reception is this portion of the showcase where the developers kind of talk about the live service elements and show UI that very much resemble what you'd see in a live service. So let me show this to you guys. And yeah, it's not something that I'm particularly enthused about. So here we go.
Each character has a power level in the game that we call gear score. As you acquire new gear in the game, your gear score goes up. And as that number goes up, it means that you can take on much harder missions. As part of this progression,
gear with different rarities,
more and more builds, more and more ways to customize your character to really fit the way you want to play.
Every firearm in our game
is a bunch of stuff to be looting.
So in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, you're going to get a lot of choice to use the weapons that you need to complete your missions, but most importantly, you will be able to customize your squad.
A lot of cosmetics that no doubt they'll lock behind microtransactions, battle pass.
Outfit. You can be running around in your asylum jail outfit.
Not stuff you can unlock purely through gameplay.
I like it. Our game is a 1 to 4 player co-op experience, which means that all the missions in the game have been designed to support solo play, playing with a friend.
Wait, I need to hear what Young said again.
You can be running around in your asylum jail outfit.
Not
and
stuff you
still
can
have, like, the
unlock
best
purely
views
through
forever.
gameplay.
I guess this is unknown. But my understanding when we read the FAQ for the video I did on it, is the battle pass. Okay, this is what I was thinking of. Okay, so the game will have cosmetic items available for optional in-game purchase that can be used to customize playable characters. Each cosmetics only battle pass will also have premium tiers that will be available via an optional in-game purchase. All in-game purchases will be completely optional and will not affect gameplay in any way. Okay, so they're pledging that it is purely a cosmetic thing. There won't be any like guns available for purchase. Okay, so that's better. And then they say also there will be premium tiers. So to be clear, like if the battle pass is like 105 levels, or let's just 100 levels, you can get through 95 levels through pure gameplay and just gameplay only, all the way up to level 96, 7, 8, 9, then 100. But those last 5 levels you can only get if you bought the battle pass, and that unlocks those levels to then be earned through gameplay as well. Very similar to how like Warzone does it. Apex, I think, does the same thing. So it's a very standard thing in live service games. So it's technically earned through gameplay, but it's a separate thing. As for the other items being available or not available through gameplay, I'm sure that there will be some outfits and things that you can only get by buying them that you can't earn. I don't know if you'll be able to earn like an in-game currency. Like in Apex, by playing, you can unlock currency that then you can use on any skin that you want. There might be something like that, so you could technically get these things through gameplay, like in a roundabout way. I would imagine they probably do something like that. Like, oh, you did this and you got XP. You earn 5 Gibble coins, and you need 100 to equal $1. And they do stuff like that. That wouldn't surprise me, but the sentiment is certainly there. Like, yeah, you can get it through gameplay, but it's so freaking inconvenient that you might as well not be able to do it at all. Like, it exists, the system for doing it exists like that, only so that they can claim that you can get everything through gameplay, but let's be real. It's kind of a joke. It's basically like Fortnite, you buy a battle pass, you earn things through gameplay, but you can also unlock them without the grind. Well, my understanding is that how most, like, my experience is mostly with things like Warzone and Apex. So you buy the battle pass and it'll skip, say, 20 or 30 levels of the battle pass, so you get expedited stuff there. With like Warzone, they've done XP boosters, so you can level up through the battle pass faster, but you still have to play the game to max out the battle pass even after you buy it. It's not like you get all 100 levels of the battle pass by buying the battle pass. You still have to play the game. And then there's, as they just said on the FAQ, there are specific levels of the battle pass you only get if you buy the battle pass. So you only get those levels if you bought it. If you are playing for free, you can level up through the battle pass without paying for it outright, but it caps out at a certain level. You probably don't get any extra XP boosts. You don't get to skip any levels or anything like that. So that's,
I like it.
To be
Our
clear.
game is a 1 to 4 player co-op experience, which means that all the missions in the game have been designed to support solo play, playing with a friend, 2 friends, or 3 friends.
For the single player fans, you can play
So
in
Marvel's
single player
Avengers-esque,
filling in the role of the squad,
but hopefully
you
with
still feel like you're part of
better
the team.
design levels
You
and
can switch them if you want.
missions
Like King Shark
and
now,
activities.
or we can say, well, I think Harley will
The
be
gameplay.
this mission, so I'm going to switch over and I'm going to try her out.
But if you really want to tear it up, going in with a full
The
group of
ding, ding,
4
ding
is
right there.
experience the full mayhem.
That just felt like such a looter
You get to
shooter
really
thing.
experience the dynamics between how you can all play
Collecting
together in different play styles
all the stuff that
in order
enemies drop.
to take on Brainiac and the Justice League.
All the fun is right here.
There's a smoothness to the gameplay that seems cool, but
doesn't end there. Rocksteady will continue its legacy of supporting the game after it's launched.
We're going to deliver lots of new content to our players. We're going to have new playable characters, new weapons, and new missions. For players who like to customize their looks, we'll offer a battle pass that only contains cosmetic
there it
items.
is.
There's just going to be so much for the players to enjoy.
Just picture it.
They're literally just
Always
describing a
fun.
live
Heroes
service
of
without
Justice
saying the
League.
words
you
live
like story
service, because
games?
they know this.
He has his audio loop. He is audio looped. So it's playing his audio twice, so it sounds like weirdly echoey.
Stigma that
RPG elements,
carries.
if you like co-op games, if you like customizing your characters, if you want to
Stigma
play
that's
as a
reasonable
badass,
given
this game kind of has it all.
It's very fast-paced, it's really
what live
colorful,
services
it's loud,
have become and
unapologetic, and in your face, and it's going to be really, really fun.
the negative aspects to live services that have seeped into gaming. So yeah, that's the segment that made people go, ugh. On top of the fact that the gameplay just looks more generic looter shooter than the Arkham series, which had such a unique identity in both visuals and gameplay because it was specifically built to be a single-player, isolated Batman experience. This is all just literally giving off the same vibes that Marvel's Avengers did. It does look better than Marvel's Avengers again, but it's never a good thing to get any sort of vibe that's related to Marvel's Avengers. This is just not the direction I was expecting this game to go. This is just not what a lot of people wanted out of a Rocksteady game. And the best we can hope for is that when we do get our hands on it, it pleasantly surprises us. In the meantime, though, we have to just contend with the fact that this is a live service, and this is a game that, despite allowing you to play solo with bots, will require an internet connection, even if you're playing single player. This is something that was relayed by Rocksteady itself in their FAQ page. Here's a screenshot from Mario 64. Zooming into the image, you can see that there's a segment that reads, "Is an internet connection required to play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League?" The response reads, "Yes, an internet connection is required to play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, solo or via online co-op." And if you're getting a sense of deja vu out of that, it's because I recently covered Redfall and how that game also has the exact same restriction that was also disclosed on the game's official page's FAQ. It's also worth noting that last month, on January 2023, there was a Suicide Squad leak that was first posted to 4chan before it spread to other social media platforms and forums and news outlets, revealing Warzone-like UI, Battle Pass menu, and more. I'm not going to show that screenshot here because...
Yeah, I wanted to show it in my video too, but I couldn't because they were copyright striking it. Even I made like 2 TikToks where I just talked about it, and Warner Brothers took them down. The TikTok got struck because I talked about the UI leak. It's ridiculous. But if you haven't seen it, basically it's what they have is, I mean, you can Google it and I'm sure you can find it, but what they have is like you select your mission, you select the difficulty, which will change the payout, you create your party if you want to do that, and then you load into the mission. It's why when people were saying that it's been described as an open world game, I was like, what? Because the UI makes it look like a sort of hubless version of Avengers, like where you load into the missions directly, kind of like in a Vermintide style game, but no hub, where you just select the mission and you pop in, you go there, you run through it, you get your XP, and then you move on. Not my cup of tea, if I'm being real. I've seen it described through Warner Brothers as an open world game, but it's really, really weird. And this is sort of a slight conspiracy on my part, or conspiracy theory on my part. If we go to like this, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a genre-defying, whatever that means, third-person action adventure shooter video game allowing players to take on the role of Suicide Squad members. And then, you know, none of these things are specifically about it being open world or anything. But they describe the game like this. If you look up then Kill the Justice League, I think it's on like see, they don't describe it as an open world game there, but I think it was maybe like here on the Steam page, genre defying action adventure third person shooter. Oh, this is weird. So like in that right there in the description, it lists set an expansive open world city of Metropolis. Okay. When we go here, we have to go down into the about. Where is it? I'm looking at it. Yeah. Set in an expansive open world city of Metropolis. And so they describe it as open world there. But in other places, they very carefully avoid the term open world. It's really, really weird. It makes me wonder if maybe the marketing guys are getting wires crossed and it's not open world, but they're describing it that way in some places and then not others. It's really strange. So I don't actually know what to make of it. I don't know if it's going to be open world. I really don't know. If it is open world, I think it'll be kind of I don't expect it to be anything like what we've come to know and love from them before, which is too bad.
Because Warner Brothers is going on a copyright takedown spree. But there's a screenshot that was verified by Video Games Chronicle here. They said that the screenshot has been verified by a VGC source, is understood to originate from a recent test build, and shows various menus planned for the Rocksteady co-op game. Now, of course, Rocksteady didn't give us an in-depth dive into the live service components, into the Battle Pass menu, the UI, and all these things, because they know that that's the stuff people are least enthusiastic about. But based on that leaked screenshot, Insider Gaming bullet listed some assumptions that they made based on what they saw in that screenshot, some features that seem likely based on the contents of that leak. They said here in this article from last month that it seems likely that the game will boast single-player and multiplayer gameplay, which we now know to be true, and will also feature a Battle Pass optional upgrade, through which no doubt many of the most highly coveted cosmetics and whatnot will be locked behind. And I wouldn't put it past them if they put in some gameplay affecting rewards as well, like, I don't know, XP boosters and the usual stuff. Now, here's where things get really grim. There are no fewer than 6 in-game currencies. That usually is an indicator for a very grindy experience, could point towards a rather grindy requirement. I'm extremely worried about that aspect. I hate grinding on the level that live services demand. I just want a well-paced experience that has a beginning, middle, and end that I can feel satisfied with, that doesn't drag an experience out to the point of just tedium. Though, of course, insufferable grind is an intentional aspect of the experience, because that's what's going to make people throw their hands up and go, screw it, I'll just spend money on this instead of treating this as my full-time job. Game companies like to call these microtransactions time savers, but really they are frustration mitigators. And the confusion generated by all of the different currencies will further incentivize people to just spend real money on things and get them quickly, and will also add a degree of separation between the in-game premium currencies and the real dollar value and worth. As far as UI goes, it was stated here that options closely resemble the likes of Warzone and Back 4 Blood. We got a glimpse of the UI in the gameplay showcase, and yeah, it looks like every other looter shooter, every other live service, the gear equipping, all the different rarities, all the different currencies, just everything that was on display. I'm like, oh man, that gives me a bad feeling. I've seen that UI design and framework before. The leak showed that there's going to be an in-game store, suggesting that skins and other cosmetics will be things that you can buy for real-world money. The leak back then indicated that you'd be able to play solo with bots, which we now know to be true. And then finally, the leak showed a loadout menu that further opens the door to microtransactions-like potential. So yeah, look, I cannot deny that my hype for Suicide Squad and for the prospect of just a new Rocksteady game has diminished significantly. I'm approaching this game with a heavy dose of cautious, I don't even want to say optimism. Honestly, I feel like I'm a little more pessimistic at this point. I've been so burned by these types of games, and Marvel's Avengers especially was such a travesty, and this resembles Marvel's Avengers so much in terms of its live service model that I cannot help but be pessimistic. I hope they prove me wrong, but
I get it. I get it. Can't blame them. Can't blame them. And honestly, Warner Brothers can't blame anybody either. Anybody, like, they have no excuse for putting this out and then expecting people to be hyped on it. Like, there's just no way that they thought this was going, if they know what they're doing, if they've been involved in the gaming industry at all, there's no way they could have possibly thought that this was going to be received well. But then again, I mean, maybe they're just so out of touch that they honestly did think that this would be real well received. I don't know. 6 currencies. Yeah. So like my understanding from this, again, I wish I could just freaking show it, cause I think it would work great. But, as for, I can't really do it. The screenshot that leaked of the UI, it shows 6 little items. Did I save a picture of it? Maybe I'll just look it up. I'm not going to show it. I pulled it up. I'm not going to show it. I guess you can see it in the reflection of the glass, sort of. Just a little bit. But what we see in this, and again, you can just look up Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League leaked menu or menu leak, whatever, if you want to see it. But what we see in it, it's Boomer, Captain Boomerang in the front left, then Harley behind him, King Shark, and Deadshot, all controlled by bots. They have different levels describing them. In the middle on the top, there is a gold, what looks like a coin. So it's sort of like the in-game currency is what I'm assuming it is. And then next to that is a green, like hexagon with 6 next to it. And then there's some blue thing with 0, purple with 1, a yellowish star looking thing with 0, and then a blue triangle at 0 as well. What they're describing is 6 in-game currencies in that Insider Gaming article. My interpretation, they have a bar next to the gold coin. My interpretation of this menu is that the gold is the in-game currency. The others are crafting materials that are used for like upgrading your weapons or changing something about them, boosting them in some way, something like that. So could you call them currencies? I mean, I guess if you're calling crafting materials currencies, you could. I don't think call that a currency, but maybe if we're stretching the definition. I just wouldn't consider these currencies. And like, this is one of the things I described about Insider Gaming, where like they do a good job of reporting, but sometimes what they take from what we see in the leak or what's described in the leak, and then what we actually see in the article written out that people end up quoting, sometimes that doesn't necessarily follow. It could be the case, but that's not just the straight reporting of the item or the information. Because what they should say is they should say there are 6 things listed on the top. Could be currencies. What it seems to be, though, it could also be 1 currency and then 5 crafting materials. That, I think, is the more responsible way of doing it, because now you're seeing like people like Yong reporting that there's 6 in-game currencies, when most people imagine like, okay, so there's Apex coins, and then there's Apex gold bars, and then Apex platinum bars, and like they imagine this crazy thing, when in reality it's like, no, there's 1, and then there's crafting materials. If you're going to say crafting materials are an in-game currency, you could probably argue that. I just would say that most people probably don't think the same way, if I'm being real. I think most people probably think currency for buying stuff, not crafting materials when you say in-game currency. So just to be completely fair, I don't think it's fair to say that this has 6 in-game currencies. I think that that's a little sensationalized, if I'm being real. As for the other stuff on the screen, I mean, like I said, on the top left, we have a rectangle that says hold the start button for the message of the day, which just is probably like a lot of multiplayer games where they have a latest update, patch notes, that kind of thing, where they say like what the event is that's going on right now. Beneath that, they have what looks like the mission selection screen, where you can choose, it says story at the top, and then beneath that it says private squad, and then best pay attention. Best pay attention has a skull next to it. I'm assuming that's the difficulty option, so they selected a harder difficulty. And then in order to play, you can go down to the bottom left of the screen, and there's a button that says play, so you can select that there. Underneath the mission selection, though, where it says chapter 3 worst laid plans, kill the Flash as the prompt for the mission, underneath that they have game mode, chapter select, difficulty, and matchmaking as their own buttons. So game mode, I would imagine that there's also going to be like a wave mode or a PvP mode, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them. And there may be all different modes for you to level up your characters and grind out weapons and things. I would totally buy that. Chapter select. This tells me you can select multiple chapters. Otherwise, why the hell wouldn't you, like, why the hell would you need to select chapters? So I would guess you can probably go back and play through previous story chapters in order to grind out or play through them on harder difficulties to get more crafting materials and XP and stuff. Again, live service, looter shooter, very, very standard for that genre. And then matchmaking, where you can match with people if you don't have friends to play with and if you don't want to play with bots. So across the board, everything in this UI and everything that they've described just screams standard, kind of played out looter shooter, which is why people are generally fairly unenthused about it. And I can't blame them. I mean, it's something we've seen countless times, and every single time that they do this, it ends up releasing like a pile of crap. I don't know. I'm not into it. Let's see. Or chapters can be done non-linearly. My assumption would be that you would have to go through it linear once, but I think like you could do like chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go back, do chapter 1, 2, and 3 again on the harder difficulties to get higher level loot. And like to be real, like I have friends that will love this. I'm gonna be real with you. I have friends. I have one friend in particular, loves this kind of thing. Loves these kinds of games. So he'll play it. He'll probably have a great time. Probably won't buy anything. He's not the type to buy anything in these types of games. But I would guess he probably goes through, will buy it, will have a great time. And that's who it's designed for. It's not designed for people like you and me who have, you know, other expectations when it comes to Rocksteady and these AAA games. And that's really too bad. I mean, Because this is a company that, or a studio that previously was extremely successful at single player game development. And now it's just not about it. Drinner, I'll let it read it.
Drinner D donated $6 through Super Chat. Everything you are describing. I hate it. Expressionless confounded face pouting look of triumph.
Pouting look of triumph. What is look of triumph? I've never heard it described as look of triumph. That's awesome. And I agree. I mean, the more you hear about it and the more you kind of play it through and start describing it in detail, the less and less you're into it. The more you're like, oh, well, this sucks. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's too bad because, again, this is a studio that previously was known for doing literally the opposite, for being great at doing the opposite. And it's kind of heartbreaking. He took my thing.